Sirs. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Eye on the Ball. I'm Steve Rivera, and I'm here with Jay Gonzales, and you're listening to 1030 The Voice. Jay, let me tell you something. Today, just an observation. I could be totally wrong, but not a bad day in the world of sports in terms of disasters.
Well, there have been no disasters today. There's, as always, some stuff going on, little rumblings all over the place and stuff like that, but, nothing that says this is really bad.
That's a good day when we can say this is
I'll take it. I'll take that.
The one thing that you made a good observation, and we've talked about this a number of times, is what's going to happen if you don't trust the next guy reporting what's going on?
Well, that's it, and there's some stuff going on, and look, I'm sure it's going on in other places, but there was a report out of Colorado State today in the Fort Collins newspaper that the coaches are discouraging players from reporting symptoms. They might be not reporting correct tracing and other things like that, just being dishonest about the whole COVID thing.
Isn't this the perfect example of why the Pac-12 players signed this letter or sent this letter, because they want more transparency of what's really going on?
They do, and that's just it. And so you had a series of players who just went to the media there and just said, these things are going on in our program. Now, let's to be completely fair about this, and again, this always hits social media, right? Mm-hmm. So the Fort Collins story, newspaper story ran. It hit social media immediately, national media, and everybody jumped on it and started commenting how this is awful. We knew this was going to happen, yada, yada, yada. But then some other players from Colorado State came out and said, none of this is true. So it's like, who do you believe? And that's going to be one of the big issues all year long. You got guys saying this is going on, then you got guys saying, no, it's not. They even had a little of that here at Arizona. You had, somebody throwing out there that the coaching staff kicked a guy off the team because he didn't want to, because he wanted out, when in reality there was a problem with the player and he got kicked off the team for other reasons. So
right.
It's like, where do you go with this stuff?
Yeah, no, it's a slippery slope.
And how do you validate any of it?
Right. In your background of what you know, what you've done for a while in your career, what do you believe? I know where I'm going to go with this.
Well, I guess, what I'm going to say is, if this stuff was not going on, then why would they go to the newspaper and say it was?
Right.
There's absolutely no reason for them to do that.
Sure.
Now, it may be that these other players who came out and said it's not true, one, maybe by trying to protect their program, or two, aren't aware that it's going on.
Correct.
You got 100 guys on your team, maybe 80, if you're Colorado State.
Right.
Maybe it is going on and they just don't know it because they're just saying this isn't happening.
Right.
So,
but you don't know what you don't know.
Right. I mean, why would these guys go to the media and say this is happening? There's no reason for them to do that.
When you go to do your stories, and when you did your stories for the Star and I did it for the Citizen, you just didn't go to one guy and say, okay, you got his quote or his information. You went to two or three.
Oh, you had to go to a bunch.
So this one has 2 or 3 or 4 kids saying this, correct?
The Fort Collins story has 10.
Oh, you going to tell me the 10 guys are wrong?
8 players and 2 staff members went to the media.
There's no way you're going to tell me 10 guys are wrong.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to lean towards, I think this is happening.
Correct.
To what degree is it happening? We don't know.
Go ahead, Tom.
I'm also suspicious of the guys who are coming out for the program, in favor of the program, saying this isn't happening, because to your point of why would you go if you didn't have anything going on, why are you coming out to defend the program if you're not either being told to come out and defend the program or you have some other ulterior motive?
Sure.
I can't understand why you would, especially when it comes to this, go out and defend the program.
My whole thing is, we talked about this last week with the attorneys, with Bert Knurk and Mr. McLeod. I said, what if you get guys not really being truthful?
Right.
And then all this whole thing is screwed.
It just blows up.
Yeah.
It just blows up. And that's, again, that gets back to, we're so not very good as a society at accepting personal responsibility for stuff, right?
That goes back a long time.
I'm just saying some people, obviously some people are.
Sure.
But there's a lot of people aren't.
Sure.
When things happen, we're always looking for somebody to blame.
Sure. No, and we live that right now.
Right.
But I think off the air, you talked about this. Coaches have jobs, big-time jobs,
right.
big-time salaries, things at stake.
Right.
They need to fix or need to
livelihood, the stake and stuff like that. And right.
So this is a problem.
It's gonna be a problem.
Sure.
And if you got one guy, who's maybe got an issue and something's going on, again, let's call out the kid from Arizona who came out and said these things are happening, and then when he got questioned, I said, well, not really that, it's this.
Right.
It's like, what do you believe in? And you can't jump to conclusions. But again, when a newspaper has 10 sources on something, they're going to go with it.
10 people see a car crash and they're all wrong? What?
Right. They're gonna go with it.
Sure, of
And
course.
So, but again, that's not to say that down the road, you might get 3 guys together who say, let's go do this because we hate our coach.
Right.
Right?
That's a possibility.
That's a possibility,
That's a
too.
possibility, yeah. I get that. But 10 guys in a room who saw something or know something, that's a bit far-fetched.
But, these guys, and there's a lot of these kids I think there's a lot of these guys who are scared.
Oh, heck yes.
They're scared. They want to play,
I know I would
but
be.
they're scared.
I would be.
Yeah.
No, this is a sport that, well, any of the sports that you can't really mess around
Right.
with.
And you got players at all levels, from, the NBA to the NFL to Major League Baseball and the colleges, high schools, whatever, who are opting out and saying, I'm just not going to go. I'm just going to take the risk. It's not worth it to me.
No, I would be totally understanding of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Hey, today we have a nice show. We have Joseph Blair coming on the show here in about 2 or 3 minutes. We'll find him, track him down. He's in Philadelphia. He's still with the Philadelphia 76ers. And we'll talk about UA Sports. We'll talk about today's current situation and what's going on with him in Philly. Come here, right here on 1030 The Voice.
Miss a show? Check out the podcast at kvoi.com.
These days, most families are concerned with having the right insurance coverage. Protecting your family, home, auto, and other valuable possessions can be challenging and sometimes expensive. Crest Insurance gives you flexible options and solutions while saving you money. Insurance is not one size fits all, and at Crest, we find the coverage that's best for you and your family. Visit us online at www.crestins.com or call us toll free at 888-881-5765.
There's a place in our house.
For 70 years, Benjamin Supply has been keeping Tucson flowing. Hygiene is our business. We help you achieve extreme clean. Minimize germ spreading with a hands-free sensor faucet. Forget the paper panic with a washlet seat. And speaking of waterworks, a big thanks to plumbers for their essential efforts during this health crisis. Shop our downtown showroom by appointment. Call us at 777-7000 or see all the products online at benjaminsupply.com.
Thanks to Benjamin Plumbing Supply.
1030 The Voice is committed to supporting our local businesses. Many are struggling. We want to help them get the word out that they're still open and ready to serve you. Go to kvoi.com, click on the Stay Tucson Strong page, where you can find a link to support our business partners. You can make your dollar count by buying from local businesses and in return, help them keep their workers employed. Find out more at kvoi.com. Together, we can stay Tucson strong with 1030 The Voice.
Trusted local news and talk. 1030 The Voice.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside my co-host Jay Gonzales. And on the phone I have former U of A star Joseph Blair, now an assistant coach with the Philadelphia 76ers. Joseph, how the heck are you, and how did you avoid that bubble down in Florida?
First of all, good to hear your voice, Steve. It's been way too long. I hope you're doing well. I hope your family's doing well.
Thank you,
miss
JB.
You guys, miss everybody in Tucson. So let's be humanistic first and foremost. You know I'm gonna call you out on everything, Steve. I love talking to you.
Yes, I know.
Also, I didn't. I looked on the Eye on the Ball Facebook page, and I didn't see a big thing promoting me being on the show tonight. So I'm going to give you crap for that.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
we got you up there,
it's all
Joe.
up there. It's been all
Joseph, I'm the one that. This is
Hold
Jay.
on,
I'm the
and
one
then-
that does. You're there. I linked you and everything, both on Facebook and
I heard
Twitter.
and you just called me Joe. I heard you say it.
Sorry about that, dude. My bad.
You're lucky I don't hang up right now. I'm staying tuned now for all the Tucsonans that I love.
I just didn't
So
finish. Yeah, you're up there.
No worries. It's okay. I'll let you slide this time. I'll
Go look right
I'll
after
bury
me.
it down until the resentment builds.
You're gonna give me a complex now, but that's not.
Hey, wait,
that's
but,
normal.
But let's wait a minute, Joseph. You got to remember, I don't know if you know this. I was the stat guy for you. I'm the guy that got you all your stats. Okay, I got you all your rebounds, got you all your stuff. So I'm the guy that put that down. So just remember.
And now, not only did you call me Joe, you're also downgrading all the hard work for me to get those points and for me to get those rebounds.
See, now you know what Luke went through for 4 years. How's it going? Last time I really spoke to you outside of last summer when you were here visiting, you won a title as the head coach for your G League team. How has life changed for you?
It's changed a lot, honestly. First and foremost, let me address your initial question that I kind of jumped over as I was scolding you to.
Yes.
Obviously when the bubble hit, everything has changed for our entire league. And one of the things obviously not with the bubble, with COVID hitting, everything changed for the entire league. And with the bubble in particular, after a three-plus month layoff, they shrunk the travel party significantly. And what the Sixers did, we prioritized the staff that was more in charge with the health and well-being of the players. After being off and not playing for so long, we wanted to make sure that we had more of that staff to deal with their needs physically so they could be more equipped to play. As you can imagine, sitting out for so long and then coming back, but not only coming back when these games are in rapid succession, the most important thing is that we can keep those guys healthy. So I'm working remotely. I'm in Philly now. It's very different, that's for sure. I'm taking notes during our games and shooting text messages for our other coaches to read at halftime to get my information, and then I'm doing my video work, my advanced scouting work, and then we have a lot of Zoom calls. Almost every day we have a Zoom call pre-practice or pre-game. So it still keeps me busy, but it's an adjustment. But I think everyone's life is an adjustment right now. As far as what you just asked me, how have things changed? It's been a significant change. You go from I was in the G League, number one. Just life in the G is much different than life in the league. The way you travel, the way you're taken care of, the way the players' well-being, everything is extremely different. Obviously, the stress of the situation. I've been 3 years assistant coach under the great head coach Matt Brazzi before I took over the reins down there at the Vipers. And also, I think the biggest adjustment for me, as a head coach or anyone in the head business situation or business position, your job is to implement a culture inside your environment, inside your community of your job. And that was my job as the head coach. And now coming back to as assistant coach, my job is to promote the culture in which the head coach is trying to implement in our community. So just trying to go from one to the next is a very big adjustment, and also dealing with different players at different statures, different ego levels, and different things. So it's a very different environment, that's for sure. But I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed to be a part of it. I love my job. I love what I do. I love being around everyone. I love learning every single day. So it's truly a blessing.
Hey, Joseph, as a coach, what's the difference in the players? And you got in the G League, you got guys who are trying to make it. They're hopeful and that kind of thing. Now you're in the NBA. You got guys who, in a sense, have made it. Of course, guys are trying to improve themselves and stuff like that. But what are the major differences you see between the approaches of the players at the two levels?
Well, I'll be honest with you. A lot of things that are inhibiting some of these players in the G League taking the next step to the NBA is their lack of professionalism. They truly don't understand that this is a job. That transition from college, when everything is scheduled for you, you have to be here at this time, you have to do this at this time, you have to do this time, and then you get to a professional where no one's making you do anything. It's on you to develop yourself. It's on you to get better every single day. It's on you to do the things that are outside of what's required, and that's what really takes you to the next level. And I think that's what a lot of what the NBA players have done, those extras to get to the next level. They've done outside of what was asked of them, and they push themselves to be better constantly every single day. And I'm not saying all G League players don't do that, but I think it's an overlying theme with a lot of things I've seen there in the G League. Is you have players that have really been coddled, for lack of a better term. They have a sense of entitlement that is still quite pungent upon them. So it's hard for them to shake that and move on to the next level. But, I've been blessed where I've seen players. I've worked with players. I had 6 call-ups in my time as a head coach. I've seen numerous guys get called up while I was there. I've worked with some amazing players. I'm one of my favorite players that I ever worked with while in the G League was Montrezl Harrell, just an unbelievable workhorse. And it's guys like that put in extra work, and it pays off in the end. And, since I just dropped his name, you can see now that his work ethic is amazing.
You're in Philly. You're not with the guys. You must miss it. I'm just assuming that you might miss it because this is part of who you are. You get along with the guys. You know what they're thinking. You can work with them. Things like that. Is it in fact, do you miss them, and how is it for you?
Of course, I miss them. I miss one of the biggest parts of what I enjoy about coaching is the things I miss the most out of playing, which was the camaraderie and the competition. And yes, I still have the competition because I still see I want the Sixers to beat whoever we're playing. But part of that competition is also looking down the court and saying, hey, this group, us guys are against you guys. And we're trying to beat you tonight on this court. And then the camaraderie, which is just being around everyone. So not having those two major things, which I found that I connected so greatly with as a coach, it's become difficult. But, you find your ways. I communicate with the other coaches as much as I can. I try to shoot text messages as much as I can. And then just, in my self-understanding that this is, it's God's plan for me to do what I'm doing right now. And I know that He has a plan for me, and greater things are in store. And that understanding of that alone keeps me sane.
And I would assume that all those suits you have in your closet are aging as we speak, and say you need to wear them. Please don't tell me you wear them while they're playing in Florida and you're in Philadelphia. He was the sharpest dressed guy out there.
No need to. The thing about it is, Steve, something you wouldn't understand. I stay in good shape, see? So those suits are still going to fit me when I decide to wear them again. And I'm blessed that the style of myself doesn't wear out, so I can always rock those suits and make them look good.
I don't want to be a vegetarian. That's the only problem.
Joseph, I'm going to be honest with you. At the scorer's table, at the beginning of the game, when the coaches go by, you guys go by and shake hands, and everybody greets each other and stuff like that. I will say we considered you as sharp a dresser as we ran across over there. And there were some guys who were bad. Some guy, Ernie Kent was as a good a dresser as there was. We were always complimenting Ernie on his outfits, but we did notice that you were one of the sharp dressers there. You clearly took pride in it, and we noticed. We definitely noticed.
And I definitely appreciate you saying so. Thank you, good sir.
I'm not trying to butter you up for calling you Joe either. That's serious.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Hey, JB, you've been out of the game 26 years, at least from here, from U of A. You see all the stuff going on with college athletes. Now they're going to start to get paid with likeness and stuff like that. Football players want more. Do you kind of wish you were back in the day this happened to you guys?
Well, now you're getting into a different thing, and then you're talking about regret, and regrets are a whole different subject I'm not going to get into. I do think that everything that happened the way it did needed to happen for them to have the platform they have now, and we couldn't have had that platform then. So, I'm happy that it is being addressed now. I'm happy that they do have a platform to stand on to make certain requests. But I will say that I think that it's one of the things we needed to go through in my days in order for them to be where they are now. And I completely understand that, and I respect that. I'm glad that I could be a part of that process, and I respect that.
So back to talking about the difference between the guys that you used to work with in the G League and guys you see now. Now you're working with big personalities, big guys who are just icons of basketball right now, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, stuff like that. What's it like to work with those guys? And what are their personalities like? Are they more down to earth than we think they are? Or, do some of these guys get caught up in who they are? I mean, how do guys like that stay grounded when, they're so, so popular and looked up to by so many people?
Well, I think that the first thing you'd understand is everyone's human. We're all different individuals. I'm more outgoing than some of the other coaches and then some other teammates and just some of the people I know in general that I'm the type of person, if I'm in the elevator with you, I'm going to say something to you. I'm not going to be quiet. There's people that are sitting in the elevator will never say another word. Well, you have to understand that these players are the same way. There's some that are going to talk to you and some are going to be quiet. And the problem is that they're judged by their humanness too much. So when I work with these players, some of them, some talk a lot, some don't talk a lot. I've worked also with James Harden. I worked, with many of the other Rocket players. And, you're talking about MVP caliber players. And I will say that they're all individuals. And not only that, but you have to understand, number one, when you start talking about these bigger name individuals, the pressure in which they live under, they're always going to be a little bit more protective, which is normal. I think any of us, if we're in a position where a lot of people want access to you, you're going to be more defensive. And I think that the general public has to do a better job of understanding that, respecting that. But they're not the only person that's asked them for this or that or whatever it might be. And but I will say that with all that being said, that they do a very good job of being themselves, more so than what people understand. And I respect that. I enjoy being around them. I like to joke with them. I like to laugh with them. I like to see them interact with each other as well. And it is definitely a blessing, and it's a joy to be around these younger guys, and especially those that are trying to get better and trying to learn. And I will say guys like Ben Simmons, that's the kind of guy he is. He wants to get better. He wants to learn. Tobias Harris, he's an unbelievable teammate, team member. And then even James Harden, for example, just going back to my Houston days, and I can't help but to speak on that because I was with the Rockets for 4 years as well. He's a guy that he leads by example with his work ethic. He works hard, and he'll call someone out on if they're not working as hard as they should, those type of things. So it's you really respect their leadership, and you learn from just from observing what they do and how they do it and the things they say.
Can you talk about the road you get to this point? Like I said, you've been out to 25 years. You played in Europe a lot, overseas a lot, and you came back, done a lot of things for the local community. When you finally got that call by Philly, how did you feel, and how was that road?
Man, God had a plan, Steve. That's all I can tell you. Because even from my road to get to where I am right now, it's truly unconventional. I think every coach has their own different path to get to where they are. Some come from long lines of coaching. Some people played for years, jumped straight into coaching. Some people couldn't play, so they coached. Some people loved the game so much they coached. Mine was a little bit different. Obviously, I did play for years overseas, and then I came back. I retired to Tucson, just really submersed myself more in the nonprofit sector, and I'm just growing your community. I wanted to see Tucson become the best Tucson it could be, and I tried to do what I could to be a part of that. I served on a lot of different boards around town. I tried to volunteer as much as I can for different things. I went and spoke at a lot of different schools, just tried to really become as big a part of the community as I could. And interesting thing what happened with that is that's exactly what made me become a good coach when the time came. On my road to coaching, for those that don't know, is I actually went to coach at the U of A just so I could finish my degree. And in the process of doing so, I fell in love with coaching.
Yeah.
And I took that, and a door opened up. God presented an opportunity for me to get at the Rockets, and then I went on from that to won a championship in the G League. And
we got to go. We got to go. JB, thanks a bunch. Take care.
Appreciate it, Joseph.
CBS News at the top and bottom of every hour. 10:30 The Voice.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks managed a modest advance as investors tried to gauge the outlook for an economic stimulus bill. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 164, the S&P 500 added 12, the Nasdaq Composite rose 38 to an all-time high. Virgin Atlantic has filed for bankruptcy in the U.S. after telling a London court it will run out of cash next month unless it gets a financial rescue. Reservations are down 89% since January 1st. It sees a decline of 75% in the second half. The SEC is investigating the circumstances surrounding Eastman Kodak's announcement of a government loan to make drugs at its U.S. factories. The announcement caused Kodak shares to skyrocket, producing a potential windfall for company executives. Ralph Lauren wants its American dream to be more diverse. Amid a broad corporate reflection on race, the company is reevaluating its marketing and how it projects American success. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg.
CBS News Update. Tropical storm Isaias is moving through New England after a trek from North Carolina that left at least 5 people dead, dozens injured, and millions without power. President Trump offered help from the federal government.
Utility companies are working around the clock to restore service as quickly as possible. I spoke to Governor Cooper, I spoke to Governor DeSantis, and I spoke to all of the people at FEMA, and they're working very hard.
Heading toward Canada at 40 miles an hour, the storm still has maximum sustained winds of 50 miles an hour. CBS's Michael George.
Forecasters say Isaias hasn't lost as much steam as expected after making landfall. It held its nearly hurricane-strength winds for at least 12 hours. One bit of good news, Isaias is not lingering in any one place for long. Crews are already beginning to restore power in North Carolina.
CBS News Update, I'm Pam Coulter.
Hi, I'm Ron Hess from the Window Depot. You know about our great prices and our biggest inventory on windows and doors. Well, now the Window Depot is the place for all your kitchen cabinets. And that's not all. Now you can get granite countertops at the Window Depot. That's right, we now stock a large variety of prefab granite countertops starting at $116 for a 9-foot section. That's less than Formica. So come into the Window Depot today, because now we have granite.
Camille Rivas Rutherford with Coldwell Banker Realty has been one of the top producing real estate agents in Tucson, Oro Valley, Marana, and Vail for more than 20 years. Let her help you find your dream home in southern Arizona. Her passion and enthusiasm for real estate has helped her become one of the most respected and trusted realtors in the area. And she was recently named a recipient of Coldwell Banker's 2019 International President's Circle Award. Camille's approach to sales and marketing and selling or buying a home is second to none. Give her a call at 520-250-5192.
Listen up, folks. Debt never works. But you know what does? Even during a crisis. The baby steps. This proven plan has helped millions get out of debt, save for emergencies, and build wealth. So don't stop now. Unless your income has destabilized, stay gazelle intense and keep working your way through the baby steps. It's the Dave Ramsey Show. Weekdays live at 1 on 1030 The Voice. Trusted local news and talk.
This is The Voice, 1030, Tucson's trusted news and talk.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside co-host Jay Gonzales. Always good to talk to Joseph Blair. He's always fun to jibber jabber and kind of go back and forth with.
That was fun. It was fun to let him give us a little bit of stuff at the beginning. And honestly, I mean that's a true story. Is that we sit there at the scores table and we critique the suits as they go by.
Yeah, he's got those big
and
suits.
Joseph was a sharp dresser. There's a few others, and then there were some guys who would come around like. I don't know. There's some guys that you go, man, who picked that out? You obviously don't have a wife at home who helps you dress.
No, but Ernie Kent, you're right.
But Ernie Kent, man, sharp dresser.
I'm trying to think myself. I don't.
I'll tell you, Luke was
Luke,
very sharp dresser.
Yeah.
Very
what
sharp
makes Luke is he was a good-looking dude who just kind of makes the suit.
Yeah. But we like to look at the assistant coaches because we know the head coaches make all the money.
Right.
They're going to spend a lot of money on their suits. It's when you see the grad assistant who's got like, a navy jacket with a different color, with a different shade of navy pants, and you're saying that guy's struggling. You know.
Right. But Lorenzo dressed pretty well, didn't he? Because he made some cash.
Yeah, Lorenzo Romar, good dresser. And let's see, who else? Who am I thinking of here?
In the Pac-12?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Pac-12 coaches. Mike Montgomery always looked sharp.
Right.
Always looked sharp.
Right.
And and then you had a couple other guys, and maybe I should mention some. I won't mention them.
Henry Bibby used to dress nice too back in the day.
Henry Bibby, good dresser. And then some guys were just kind of basic. Jay John was kind of a basic guy.
Oh yeah, sure.
He had always had the black suit or the navy suit or whatever. And Sean Miller's an okay dresser. He's got a couple of jackets that we make fun of that he wears once in a while.
They sweated through that baby. They changed color.
Right. And then, but we do we we do take a look. And then, you got guys now who are showing up, they're wearing golf shirts and stuff like that.
Right.
Now.
That's
So
how I would do it. I know
it's become a whole different deal. But it's a lot of fun. You know what? We got to entertain ourselves before the game starts, right?
Yeah, you guys are bored.
we've been sitting in the arena for an hour getting ready for the game, and by game time we've already been there a while and we're ready to move on. So
right. Well, JB had the sharp dress and that very white.
Right.
How you doing? How you
Right.
doing? What's going on?
Yeah, very dapper guy.
Yeah. Good to talk to him. Success. You'll have 2-3 years ago. I was with we're doing the Ludos in camp, and Brazi was with me, and we were talking. He says, "You know what? JB's got what it takes." And I'm thinking, really, JB? He says, "Yeah, he's personable. He knows the game, and he knows the people. He knows how to deal with the people. And as a good coach, you know how to deal with the people."
Right. And seeing, and when from the vantage point that we have of players, I saw him as just kind of a quiet guy out there. I don't know if I ever saw him say a lot. He just played. Whereas, somebody like a Damon Stoudemire, he was always talking, but because he had to. He was the point guard and stuff like that. T.J. McConnell was another guy like that.
Are you talking about his playing days?
Yeah, his playing days at Arizona.
Yeah.
He just seemed like he was, he was business. He went in, did the work. You didn't hear a lot from him.
He was probably one of the more underrated players in the last 25 years. Let me say why. Because when he got it low, he rarely missed. I think he's among the top 2 percentage-wise guys in the 60s.
Well, and I was going back and looking at his and the media guy looking at his stats, and I didn't realize how proficient he was offensively, because he was kind of a quiet guy, to the point where he didn't stand out to me.
There's a reason for that too. You know why? Khalid Reeves.
Well, he had Khalid Reeves and Damon Stoudemire.
Yeah,
Those two guys. When you watch those teams that he was on, those are the guys you had your eye on, because those are the guys who had the ball and they were
Reggie,
doing all the
and
things.
Reggie, 3 guys. Reggie with the defense, JB, Arrayo's, and Joe McClain. Those guys, and it went to the Final Four.
Right,
I'm sure you were happy back then.
That got to a Final Four, and that was fun, because those are also the guys that lost to Santa Clara.
Right. Add Chris Mills in that mix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But JB was one of those guys that he just didn't stand out. But he obviously was doing his job, because they went to a Final Four and they were good.
And he had some good numbers. He did have some. Once he got the ball down low, it was pretty much 63%. I think, scoring was. Right. But good to talk to JB.
It was good. It was
Let's
fun.
kind of transition into maybe the mess that's going on in baseball. It's not pretty.
Well, you got the Cardinals now, who are shut down for a week, and there's been some reports, and they tracked that to some of the guys going out to a casino, I don't know what city or whatever, and came back. And
there's one in Seattle. There's one in St. Louis.
Okay, and unfortunately, one of those guys was my catcher on my fantasy baseball team, which I'm really upset about.
You know what I call that?
I cut him immediately.
You know what I call that? The Gonzales kiss of death.
I am the kiss of death. I cut him immediately. Yadier Molina, he was doing a good job, but he's not going to play for a couple of weeks. He said, "Get out of here. Get off my team."
Do you have any more St. Louis guys?
I do. I have Paul Goldschmidt on my team. I had to bench him because they're just not playing. And I have a pitcher.
So the reason why I don't play that silly game, because you don't know, you can't trust anybody.
I'll tell you what. Managing a fantasy baseball team has entered a whole new realm, because now you're having to look at games and look at your lineup every day to see if teams are playing.
Right.
All of a sudden I looked at my lineup today and I realized I had 3 guys who weren't playing because their team's not playing. And then I started looking into it and found out that, I knew the Cardinals, were not playing because of the COVID, but, I'm kind of one of those guys that sets my team at the beginning of the week and lets it go.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I took a look at it and I realized, wait a minute, I got a bunch of guys who aren't playing. I got to make some moves here. And so, you have to pay a little more attention to it. And it's, but if you can imagine the angst I have just doing fantasy baseball, what if you're the manager of the team?
Well,
right?
You're getting paid a few million to worry
what
about
if you're
it.
the manager of the team and and your team now, you're sitting there, now you got to come out of this and you got to try and, play for a pennant.
So let's, yesterday we had Michael Lev on. He gave the season of college football starting or whatever at 20%. I like that number. Did we ask you?
You didn't ask me, but I'm in the 50-50 range.
Well, because you're the optimist of this group.
Right.
What about baseball? Finishing this
season? I think they're going to finish the season, because the guys are getting COVID and they're rescheduling and stuff like that. I think they caught everybody's attention finally and says, you guys can't go out and do this stuff. So I'm just believing and hopeful that guys will pay attention to this. Apparently when, Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, threw out a threat that last Friday, we're going to shut it down on Monday if you guys don't pick it up.
Right.
Whether or not that was real, the word was that players within the league were texting each other and saying, guys, because if you're the LA Dodgers and you want to win a World Series because you've
worked your butt off and have talent.
You've won your league 40 times in a row. You haven't won a World Series since 1988, and you want to win one. And if it's going to get shut down because the Florida Marlins are out there screwing around somewhere, you're going to be, you're going to try and do what you can to encourage these guys to clean up their act.
Right.
So I believe the pressure amongst themselves, the peer pressure, will play a role in this, and I do believe the season will finish.
Okay, I don't disagree with you. It's going to sputter to the end.
It's going to sputter, and you're going to keep having situations where, because you can get it out of nowhere. I mean, one person has contact with somebody. Maybe they weren't doing something extraordinarily bad, like going to a casino or whatever.
Right.
But they might run into someone that does have it or has symptoms that they didn't know or whatever. So it's still going to happen. But what you have to do is you have to prevent these outbreaks that come from guys not following the protocols. But I think that they've put enough flexibility into all of this that I think they're going to figure out a way to finish the season.
Right. As the NBA will, because they're doing very well.
Well, the NBA and the NHL are going to,
they'll finish out. And who was to think that the Phoenix Suns break up the Phoenix Suns?
Seriously, they've won their third game today. Devin Booker hit a buzzer beater game winner today for them. They're 3-0 since they've opened this up. They've got a shot to get into the playoffs, and
the world is definitely ending in 2020.
Well, you know what? I love this because, it's fun to watch. You got some guys that are out there just, giving it everything they've got. And, I don't think, if you're in the bubble over there, you're not going through the motions. Because if you don't want to give it everything you got, you opted out.
Sure.
You said, I'm not playing.
Sure. No, I watched a game yesterday or the day before with the Suns, and DeAndre had a good game, and Booker, of course, and I'm thinking this is a different team. Although they did start the year off, to begin the year, very well.
Right. They were doing well. And I mean, they were a borderline playoff team anyways. Had the season gone on, they had a chance. So it's
they beat the Clippers today. That's kind of noteworthy.
Yeah. So it's good to see that they're that they've given themselves a shot, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. Right.
Never been a big Suns fan. Not seen a lot of Suns basketball, but I pay attention enough to know what they're doing.
You haven't missed much, Jay. You're fine with there. Let's take a quick break here. Come back on the other side on 1030 The Voice.
We're the place where Tucson comes to talk. 1030 The Voice.
There's a place in our house. For 70 years, Benjamin Supply has been keeping Tucson flowing. Hygiene is our business. We help you achieve extreme clean. Minimize germ spreading with a hands-free sensor faucet. Forget the paper panic with a washlet seat. And speaking of waterworks, a big thanks to plumbers for their essential efforts during this health crisis. Shop our downtown showroom by appointment. Call us at 777-7000 or see all the products online at benjaminsupply.com.
Thanks to Benjamin Plumbing Supply.
Where you bank really does matter. Hughes Federal Credit Union is proud to be recognized by Forbes as one of Arizona's best credit unions 3 years in a row. This national recognition highlights our commitment to high-quality products and services, our customer service, digital services, and financial advice. At Hughes Federal Credit Union, we offer low rates on loans, lower fees, and many free services. Make the switch. Join Hughes today. Visit hughesfcu.org/best. Certain restrictions apply. Insured by NCUA.
Tipping Point with Zach Genser. Weekday mornings from 9 to 10.
Tucson, join us on Wednesday as we spend a little bit of time debriefing election results from the August 4th election. We'll talk to our faith and culture contributor, Jeff Loxton, pastor of Hope City Church. And then also we'll talk to Jason Robinson and Brian Fenn, the team from Mass Mutual, about practical financial and investing advice for today's times. You don't want to miss it. Tune in, 10:30 The Voice at 9. See you there.
Tucson's source for trusted news and talk. 10:30 The Voice.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 10:30 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera, alongside co-host Jay Gonzales. We have about 15 minutes. Anybody wants to call in, please do. Give us grief like JB did. That'd be fine. We got about 15 minutes. 790-2040. We welcome your calls. We appreciate your calls, in fact. What else is going on, Jay?
Well, we didn't get a chance to talk much recruiting.
That's right.
U of A football recruiting yesterday when we had Michael Lev on. We just kind of threw it in there at the end. And again, recruiting is such a crapshoot. But, the question I asked Michael was, Kevin Sumlin and his staff were being criticized at one point because they were the last team in the league to not have any recruits.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden he's got like 20 or 21 and gone heavily into Louisiana and Texas and plucked some players. And he's got the ranking, for whatever it's worth, has moved up there. I think they're now ranked 4th in the Pac-12 in recruiting. And so there's some hope. I think there've been a lot of people in this town as they've seen Kevin Sumlin's administration the first couple of years kind of felt like
laissez-faire.
Yeah, just kind of lacked a lot of zip and excitement, right?
Right.
When it came to recruiting, when it came to
I am one
field.
of those. I am one of those guys.
And again, we don't know. These guys that he's recruiting, are they going to be really good players or not? But you just get a sense that there's a little bit more energy, coming into the program. They're out, they're getting players, they're signing guys that seem, guys that can have an impact.
Right.
When you're recruiting guys out of Louisiana and Texas, that's where football is played, right?
It's a good sign.
So
for me, I totally get your optimism. I don't want to diminish that. To me, recruiting, I hate recruiting. It's one of the worst things you do when you're in the newspaper business, right? Chasing these kids down and trying to, whatever. One of my, and this is not a comment on him, but one of my worst times as a writer was having to chase Michael Bates all over town. Oh yeah, because you did
finding out where he was going to go.
Sure.
And I felt so
oily.
Yeah, I felt dirty, but I also kind of felt like, what am I doing? I've got a professional career here, and I'm chasing this 18-year-old kid all around. I found Mario walking down the street, and I said, "Where's Michael?"
Right. No,
I
get
hated
it.
that.
I had to make the calls. You make the calls, and then you get a commitment, and then they get a decommitment, and you get the flipping, and blah blah blah. It all matters when they get here and they perform.
Right.
You could have 5 stars, 12 stars, 3 stars. What does it matter until they show up?
And at that time, recruiting and the business of recruiting wasn't what it is now. You had Super Prep magazine, and that was it.
Right.
You didn't have 30 different websites and rankings and ESPN and all that stuff.
Right.
But yet, we had to be all over it.
Sure.
Again, in my case, Michael Bates was a Parade All-American.
That's
Everybody
like 88,
Parade
wasn't it?
All-American.
Was that 88?
Yep. And he played in the 89 season, so it was in the end of the 88 season. And I literally would go over to Amphi High School, park on a side street and wait to see if I could see him walking home.
I was right
there he lived across the street.
With him, talking to him and talking to the late great coach. Tell me just right now, I just lost his name, who passed away at Amphi. Amphi's a great coach.
Oh, Vern Friedland.
You have to kind of hang out, talk to him a lot.
You'd go over there. I'd go over there, and I'd go to the weight room, and Vern would be in the room, and I'm like, Vern, what's going on? I don't know.
And he talked like, I don't know.
But getting back to the point is that you at least kind of feel like,
I get that.
There's a little bit of energy in the recruiting piece of it. You feel like
compared to what it was.
Compared to what it felt like before.
Right.
And I don't know if maybe, Sumlin and his group kind of got recharged in this time, or if they needed recharging. But I just feel like there's maybe a little more juice in the program right now. Whether that's going to relate to enough wins this season for them to, for them to be around, I would like to think that, if you're doing a good job of recruiting, you're getting guys, there's a lot of good things going on. Even if you go win only 3 games in a 10-game league schedule, you probably hang around. That's my thought.
Yes, we talked
Again,
about...
part of it's going to depend on what those look like.
Right,
If you've got 7 losses, what do those 7 losses look like?
There's so many circumstances with that, too. You got to win games, obviously, to keep people happy and keep your job. Hickey, it'll fall on Hickey, without question.
Yeah.
3 or less, then you wonder what the heck's going on.
Yeah, you just don't know. But again, part of it's going to depend on on what that looks like. And somebody was talking about today, and I don't remember where I heard it. But when these schools now, the conferences are going to play 10 conference games. That's going to be a grind, because before you were playing 9 conference games, but you had 3 games that you got to kind of ease into it. There's no easing into anything.
No, this is a fire.
If you're Arizona, you're opening with ASU, and maybe you don't open with them, but if you don't open with them, you're going to open at Washington.
No question.
And there've been a few times that Arizona's opened their season with a league game. I remember they opened with Stanford once. In fact, that 98 season, their season opener was against Stanford that year. And they've opened with Oregon State, and they've had and I know the coaches hate conference games as their openers, but when you think about it, everybody's got that now. And by the time you get to game 10 of an all-conference season, boy.
Well, I was listening to a show coming in, and they talked about the schedule. Everyone talked about Arizona's daunting schedule, how tough it was. Everyone has the same.
Everybody's got the daunting schedule.
Exactly. This is where you compare the apples to the apples.
Right, exactly. Because, if you're Oregon, all of a sudden you've got an extra game that you can lose. If what are you going to have to go to be in the playoff?
Yeah.
Are you going to have to be 8-2? Is that going to be good enough? I think it is. I think Alabama will lose a couple of games. Alabama's got 2 extra conference games this year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oregon's going to win this league, the Pac-12?
I don't think we know.
USC?
I don't think we know, because I just don't think we know how teams are going to handle the week-to-week grind that this conference season is going to be. I think this is one of the reasons I'm hoping that we actually have this season, because I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
To watch watch USC win. All of a sudden they've been on this grind, and all of a sudden they run into some team that had no business beating them, who just beats them up.
And that happens, because that happens all the time.
That will happen.
Yeah.
And I think that'll happen across the
Could
board,
be Arizona,
all over the country. That's why I'm saying, there'll be a game in there that Arizona shouldn't win that they do.
Right.
But
right.
Who knows what's going to happen there? But the Big 12 today, kind of verified that it's a 9-game conference season, because they only have 10 teams in their league, and they're going to play one non-conference game. But that's a grind for them too. So I like the way this is going to kind of even the playing field. It's going to be interesting, assuming there is a college football playoff, what that's going to look like in terms of who gets in.
Right. There was a report on ESPN, and Tom just had it up, talking about the Pac-12 being kind of the blueprint for the future of college football. I think that, you saw a guy at Virginia Tech who just said, I'm not playing, the quarterback, I think it is.
Right.
He's jumping, and he said, I'm not going to play because I'm worried about my future. I think the Pac-12 is ahead of itself in a not so good way.
Well, I think guys are...
It's smart. It's realistic.
Let's just say that if you're in a Pac-12 school, you're a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You really are.
I don't disagree with that.
You really are. Academically, the Pac-12 schools. When you've got a Stanford in your league, you got a Cal in your league, UCLA, USC. Even Arizona State, kinda. Those are all great academic schools, and they're smart kids at all those schools. Washington, all of them. So again, I was impressed by
the documents.
The document, the demands that they came up with.
Minus 1 point.
A couple of things that they I thought they pushed it a little bit, but no doubt those guys kind of have their act together as far as what they're doing and how they're going about it. So I think that we're going to see more of that. I think the players in other leagues are looking to see what's going to happen in the Pac-12 to see how this works and what gets done.
Well, Commissioner Scott talked about it. He sent them a letter. We'll see. We have 6 weeks before the first game. If we get to that point, see what happens in between this time to see what actually gets flushed out.
Right, and I'm going to be interested to see how much of that again gets worked on before they even start camp. I mean, the teams can start camp August the 17th. That is 13 days away.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much are they going to be okay with to say, okay, we're gonna still go to camp? Then there's the other question again: who are these guys?
Right.
Is it going to matter if the guys who are signing on to this
right
aren't in camp?
Well, we know 3 guys from Arizona
right
have done it, and maybe one or Drew Dixon's a local kid.
Right.
Yeah. What do they mean? What does it mean if you're the guy that's going to jump ship anyway? Or you're not a guy who's going to be playing a lot.
Right. And I don't want to diminish, if you're on the Arizona football team, you're a good football player.
Right.
So let's just say that right away. But, there's good, better, and great, and guys who are, impact players. And so far, I think there's only been one impact player, a kid out of Oregon, that's been visibly part of this. So what kind of impact is it going to have on the teams if, say, these guys do sit out?
Right.
But again, it's still a bad look if you do have a bunch of guys sitting out because there's a bunch of guys who don't believe that the Pac-12 is doing the right thing for the players.
I understand.
So much stuff to unpack here, isn't it, Steve?
Sure. And wait, you said 13 days?
13 days.
I would venture to guess that when the 13 days are complete, that there'll be some from Arizona. There'll be some from a lot of different schools.
Right. And we'll find out. But it's not like the media can go to practices, so you may not even know, who's there and who's not, because so we keep saying it over and over and over again. This is a weird time for us, and it's going to be interesting to see how all this flushes out.
Tom?
Guys, one of the key points, too, of that article was how important the unity is among the players if they're going to pull this off. It talked about Missouri in 2015 when 30 of the players walked out because of the way the president handled the racist complaints. And so the president resigned. And really, at the end of the day, we talk about this being, it is about dollars and cents. So if everybody walks and it impacts the bottom line and the wallets, that's where you're going to get the most attention to what you are demanding. But everybody's got to be on board, or 90%.
Well, and that's it. And that's what we don't know right now. And maybe there's a lot of guys who are saying, I support it, but let me see what happens.
Right.
And then maybe when the day comes, they say, yeah, and there's a large number of guys who say, okay, we need to make an impact, and they're not doing enough. A lot of it's going to depend on what the Pac-12 response is to this. And initially it wasn't good because, Larry Scott said, I'll talk to you later this week. And they said, no, we want to talk now.
Right.
So we'll see, what ends up happening.
Well, of those points, a lot of them were valid, except for maybe the 50-50 thing.
Yeah.
And they can probably, have some concessions on a lot of different things. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Again, just another thing that we've got to think about as we hurdle towards the football season. But I'm just hoping that, look, that they play football, but that they play football for the right reasons, safely,
right,
and in such a way that everybody's kind of on board with it. You'd hate to have all these divisions going on as they try to start playing games, because then how does it impact everything?
It'll only fracture the whole product again.
It will, and I certainly don't want to do that. I just made my last payment for my season tickets. I've got all my money now. I'm hoping I'm either going to get some of it back if I don't get to go to some games. I've got a tailgate pass in there, and I don't think we're tailgating, so we'll,
have some more money for Christmas. That's what she looks like. You're going to have some more money on returns.
Exactly. So, it's a lot more to happen, so we'll keep track of it.
Thanks, Jay. Good show. Thank you, JB,
right,
for
man.
listening. Hopefully
we'll be back here tomorrow.
Right here on 1030 The Voice.
KVOI Cortero, AM 1030, the voice of Tucson. Trusted.